Is that really you? It is! What's up, guys? Super Miles Yo here. Welcome back, yet again. We are looking at another song today. I know I missed yesterday, that's fine. I got busier than I thought, but we're back today. Back in action. We're looking at one of the longer songs on the album. A little bit more involved than the last one, but not too crazy. So, this is Empathy, guys. This is Empathy. This is a heavy one. Stupid hair. All right, well, here we go. I'm going to put on headphones before my hair gets any more akimbo. Boop. Here we are. Never gets old. So, this is the Logic session. We have, just like all the rest of them, we've got vocals, which are up here for some reason and not on the bottom. We've got our guitars, and we've got our flute. So there's a lot more flute on this one. We even have a trumpet solo here, and then we have our bass, of course. There's a lot to get into, and yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, like last time, I forgot to do my lyrics. We'll worry about that later. So here we go. Let's go ahead and dive right in. This is how we start out. We're in the key of E. E for empathy. Haha, see what I did there? That was not intentional, but it's a fun little coincidence. So, this is our main little guitar lick. So, it's one of my all-time favorite progressions ever. Is the major 4 to the minor 4. That the minor 4 to 1 is such an awesome sound. First of all, I'm a sucker for plagal cadences in general. And when you go from the major to the minor and then back to 1, oof. So I thought of that chord, that little sequence first, and that's what sort of brought the rest of it into thing. I was like, yeah, we're gonna do something with that. But with the bass line, it actually does something a little more interesting. So that's normal. But then, yeah, so the dum, and I think in some of them it comes a little earlier even. Yeah. So we have dum, dum, dum. So we have the 5th in the bass, and then we have the minor 4 triad over it, which is an interesting sound that I really like. And I wasn't sure if that was going to work, but I ended up going with it. Yeah, so you get that nice clash there, which I really like. So yeah, and then we're into the verse. Yeah, so I really like this. Another chord progression I really like, or just another chord in general I really like, is a 3rd inversion dominant 7 chord. That's what that is. You can hear the dominant 7, that D natural's in the bass, but we still have the 1 chord. I love that sound. So yeah, that's what we have. And then we have that right there, which is what? That's a major 3. I'm trying to think through what it would be. Yeah, I like that sound, but it's a dominant 7 though. So a lot of dominant 7 chords in this song. But yeah, so that's what we have. That's a really cool progression. I like that a lot. So 1 dominant, major 3, and then we have 4. Yeah, so man, I really am happy with how the bass line turned out on this one. So instead of just going straight to the 5 here, I could have just done this. I could have, that could have been the bass note. Can't get down to a B right now, it's too late in the day. But instead of doing that, what do? I don't go straight to the boom. Yeah, so we work our way down. I love playing around with inversions and stuff. I think, a good like inversion can totally change the feel of the chord. So we've arrived on the dominant, but we're not quite there because the bass is playing the third of the dominant, so it's like a first inversion, I guess. And so you can hear that walk down. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Here's our vocals, real quick.
When your supply is beginning to run dry, just borrow some from someone who has more.
Yeah. So what we're doing here with reverb, just so you can see, nice small plate. The decay time, I don't usually use something with a lot of decay time, because that gets really muddy with everything that I'm doing. But this one is a little bit more. It feels like a bigger space, rather than like the other ones, which feels almost like you're listening to everything in like a really tight, like a closet or something like that, which is a cool sound. For this one, I wanted it to be a little more ethereal or a little bit more spacious feeling without it getting muddy, and so that's what I did there.
Your supply is beginning to run dry. Just borrow some from someone who has more.
And now we have a sequence that I really like.
They say to walk a mile.
Yeah, so here's what we have. So we have like a D major chord, which is a major 2. No, I'm just so stupid. It's like a flat 7. Why did I say major 2? I think, yeah. Again, like all this theory stuff is pretty nebulous to me. Like, I do enjoy like knowing theoretically what I'm doing. Like it's a fun little exercise, but that's all it is for me. It's a little exercise after the fact, you know? Like I've got enough like general like knowledge and also just experience to know what I can like do sometimes when I'm like, this might work. I'm going for this specific sound. I hear it in my head and I figure out what chord's gonna work. Then later I go back and I'm like, okay, theoretically, what did I actually do here? So that's why it takes me a second to like figure out what chord is this? But maybe that helps you. Maybe you start with the theory and then you sort of work your way back. I've just always followed the heart first and then like, you know what it is. But that does take a lot of listening and a lot of experience over time to get to the point where you can just feel those things out. So, that's worth mentioning. But yeah. Yeah. We go back to that a lot. That major to minor 4 a lot of times in the song. And that same inversion. I feel like the major to minor 4 is like really perfect for the mood of this song. The 4 is like, to me, a plagal cadence. It just feels like a hug, It feels like you've arrived where you want to be, but it's not just like a perfect cadence. The 5-1. I mean, that's about as, it's called perfect for a reason. That's about as like final of a thing as you can possibly. The 5-1, just boom, you're there. It's a perfect scenario. Plagal cadence though, it's the amen cadence for a reason. It's like, man, it's like a warm hug. And but when you do the major 4 and you're expecting to go back to 1, and then you go to the minor 4, it's like a tear-jerking moment. It's like, yeah, here's the 4, get ready for the nice hug, but it's like bittersweet. And so that's perfect for this song. Anyways, I'm getting a little too crazy. Yeah, so I like that da da da, that walk up. And what did I do in the bass? Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. So you'll notice here, I just want to point this out because we're going to come back to this. What you hear...
Several thousand...
Oops. That's not what I wanted. So the bass line is doing basically what you expect. But this is not the chord. This is not like what the bass line is doing in the later versions of the song. I switched it up a little bit for a really cool sound. that I just kind of landed on accident by playing around with the bass line, and we'll explore what that is. But this is pretty basic, you know. Dum dum dum. So, you know, that's what that is. And then yeah, we kind of get up high in the melody here.
Several thousand miles, and I don't think I needed to.
Yeah, let's go into the flute for a sec. There's this lick that I just heard in my head, and I was just like, because we have the they say to walk a mile, so we have the dum and then dum. So I just thought of this like flute lick that had a similar sound, but it went through those both keys. So da 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 da. It's I just sort of landed on that, and I'm doing the same thing again where I switch the sides of your ear. I think that's a really cool sound. It's like a call and response. So
Say to walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
and yeah, because I've panned it pretty hard, it doesn't like interfere with the vocals too much, which is important. But it's still pretty prominent back there. You can definitely hear it. And then we have some nice harmony here, I think. Yeah. So I did something that Jacob Collier has coined, coined, is that the right word? Like named, dubbed pyramiding. Pyramiding, as he would say. So you get that nice like clash, and you would think it would be too busy with all this, but I found it kind of works.
1,000 miles, and I don't think I needed to.
Yeah, and then you get that nice resolution. So there you go. And now, second verse is basically the same, except the bass line is switched up a little bit. Let's go ahead and see what that's doing. Just a little more movement. Dum, dum, dum. Yeah, and then what I like to do in songs like this, I will just sort of add, just the flute is playing something along with the melody this time around. Oh, is that my ringtone in there? Did I leave that in there? I did. You can hear the da-da-da-da, the sound of my Sheikah slate. Dang. Well, alright. I guess you can't hear it in the final, but that's funny. So it's just sort of a little background noise there that, kind of works.
I know we all start this race in completely different places. Maybe that's why my victories feel so cheap.
Yeah. It's pretty deep right there. Pretty deep. And then, so we come into this, and I've harmonized it now, which is pretty cool. So, ooh. I like that, and I'm pretty sure that harmony was just improvised to an extent. I love this darkening of the sound, you know? Da-da-da-da. And we harmonize even more later, so stay tuned there. Now, what's the bass line doing? So is it doing it here? Is it doing the thing?
To tell them any.
Trying to figure out what about this is. So I think last time we played ba ba ba, and now it's ba ba ba. It's just a subtle difference, but it has a nice feel to me.
More than zero is far more than I deserve.
About the same with the flute there, and now we get into the chorus.
All the pain and sorrow Some I've borrowed and some is my own.
Alright, so let's figure out what we're doing here. So this is what I had first. Nothing too crazy. It's a nice little progression there, but...
All the pain and sorrow, some I've borrowed.
And then when I added the bass line, it totally transformed it. Let me see if this, you know, is evident.
Pain and sorrow, some
Oh.
I've borrowed.
So you would expect the bass note here
Some
to be a B, because that's the the fifth chord, sort of. But we don't have that. What do we have? We have an A, I think. Boom. Which, again, it's the dominant 7 note. It's that third inversion. When the dominant 7 is on the bottom, you get that. Oh, it's such a nice sound. So the bass line walks down to that note. And then we land on that B. It was such an unexpected, thing for me. I was just playing around and I was like, whoa, that actually sounds pretty cool. So we have...
pain and sorrow,
Oh, that chord right there, you land on it and you're like, something doesn't feel right, but it feels so right, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I could talk all day about that, but I won't. Then the flute, we have some pretty nice stuff here, if I do say so myself. Come on now. Yeah, it almost yeah. I really like some flute harmony. You know, I think I might have mentioned this, but on my next album, I'm gonna really try to do maybe a song that's just a flute arrangement, like a flute choir thing. That's something fun I've been meaning to play around with. But yeah, so there we have that.
but I can't tell the difference, and it's turned.
I like that little lick there. Again, major minor 4, such a nice sound.
The stone.
Whoa! What'd you do there, Miles? Glad you asked. So first of all, I think we have a different sort of lick here that only happens right here. Right. I just felt like we needed something a little bit different there, some sort of more movement there instead of just strumming the same chords. So that's what we have. This flute stuff, this is something I really like doing as well. So what we're doing here is adding more to this sort of cascading thing. So one, I think the first one is just repeating over and over. Then you have they stay there. The next one's and so on and so forth. So let's see what that here. And then the second one, I think. So yeah, you're just adding more. And each one goes further and further up the scale, or whatever you want to call it. Then we get that that nice movement. Until you get to this last one, which goes up really high. That's pretty high, but... that took a lot of tries to get right. But I think it turned out pretty well. So there you go.
Your smiling eyes, and I see right through their disguise.
It's about the same here.
And hope that somehow someone will see through mine.
We have another little flute moment here, but it's a little lower this time. Yeah, I had to record the B in a separate take. I sometimes get rusty on flute because this was the time when I was playing a lot more trumpet. I need to get back on that too. There's so many different instruments that I'm trying to get better at. It's tough because Man, I feel like I could spend like 10 lifetimes on any one instrument and still, you know, be wanting to get so much better. It's just tricky when there's like piano, guitar, flute, trumpet, like melodica, which is kind of like piano basically, but like mandolin, bass, all these different instruments that like I've dabbled in and I want to spend a lot of time with and get better. It's just not enough hours in the day to do all that. So I got to pick and choose. All that to say, I was a little rusty on flute that day, so I couldn't get the low B in that one take. So I had to do a separate one. And then not to mention all the instruments that I just flat out don't play and probably never will, because that's just way too many eggs in not enough baskets, or whatever saying you want to use. Like I'm never going to be a percussionist. I'm never going to be a drummer. Like I'm sure if I'd started earlier, I could be a lot better. And even now, if I dedicated a lot of time, I could be competent after a while. But it's like, I'm going to let the drummers drum and I'm going to do my thing, you know? It's just kind of how it is. But anyways, we have extra harmony here. That's a nice chord there. It's kind of unexpected with everything else. Yeah, so you get that. I don't know quite what's clashing there, but it sounds nice, and that's what I did. Yeah. I forgot I did that. So I did another little pyramid thing there. Or not pyramid, whatever you want to... The da-da-da-da-da-da.
Words, good with words, so I don't think they'd understand.
Yeah, nice to get that high E in there. And that brings us to the trumpet solo. So, I was actually fairly pleased with how this turned out. I'm gonna play this for you. It's nothing too crazy. It's pretty modest, but I think it works. Whoa! Okay, for the record, I did not manage to play all of that in one take, not even close. But I did get all those parts. I recorded for like one long stretch, probably like 10 minutes, and I would play like a couple measures over and over and over until I got a good take, move to the next two measures, play over and over and over, once I like figured out what I was going to do. But I like this for a couple reasons. One, we actually go to this motif. We play the da-da-da-da. I like that. So we've been doing it the whole time on the flute, and then we actually do it on the trumpet. So I definitely added the flute stuff before I played this solo, because otherwise I wouldn't have had that motif. It started with the flutes, and then I was like, oh, I'll play this on the trumpet too. Sounds pretty cool. Everything else is pretty standard. The bass line, though, I was pretty happy with how this turned out. Let's listen to some of this. The guitar is doing the same thing. Yeah, I like that. So the bass again is playing the third, which is just such a nice sound. Yeah, and then this is the first time we're really going up high in the bass to do some cool little licks there. Dum 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 dee dee. That's a cool lick. Again, we're going up to that third. Keep going back to that. Ooh, I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. That right there is maybe one of my favorite moments on any of these songs. It's tricky, there's a lot of great moments, but this chromatic bass line, again, I've talked about, I love some chromatic motion with And again, it's that same thing. It's that major to minor 4. And so it's just such a nice sound. Yeah, and then we have that again. So anyways, oops. No! Shoot, sorry. So yeah, that's that. Pretty cool thing there. I like that. I just love that whole sequence. The da bum bum ba bum 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 bum. Anyways, again, I'm not a great bass player. I just sort of discover these things, and it ends up sounding pretty cool sometimes. Because I'll just keep trying until I land on it, whatever it is. And then I liked that bass line so much, this sequence here. I try to switch it up with each verse and chorus, but I think I just copy-pasted that for the next verse, because I was like, I like it, so why not?
Who could always have it worse?
So yeah, same thing there.
They say the glass is half full.
So then I think I just went back to the one, but now there's 4 tracks, so it's like a fuller sound, but there's no more harmony. Yeah, but you still have that little movement there.
Little do they know my glass is shattered on the floor.
I like that moment too. Oh my god, I keep doing that. Yeah, so I was like, you know what? This shattered on the floor, it needs a little more spice. The word shattered, like it needs a little sparkle. So I did a little fade in. Let's include the melody here. I feel ashamed to admit this, but I just figured out like that solo. Like I always solo tracks when I want to demonstrate something, and most of the time that's actually more convenient for me for whatever reason in stuff like this. But I noticed in Jacob's stuff he would like select regions and then solo them, and I couldn't figure out how he was doing it, and I didn't really care enough to figure it out, but I just figured out it's just Control S and it goes into solo mode. I could also just click here. But anyways, I can solo regions now. You proud of me? But I still not like a expert at it. Here we go.
Shattered on the floor.
So again, that's just a little sparkle there. Let's go out of that. And then we added more. So this is the same harmonies last time, except I added like the high. I added the melody an octave up on the flute. So that da. I don't know if I actually played that high or if I shifted it up an octave. Let's figure that out here. I guess I did play it actually that high. Maybe I used Varispeed. I probably used Varispeed. Yeah, I did use Varispeed. Flutes can go up to that. Where is it? That's just a B. Flutes can definitely play that. I'm not great at getting that consistently, but I think I shifted it down. I Varispeeded down a whole step, so I actually played a high A there. What are you gonna do? It still works.
Hard into stone.
Yeah, ending on the dominant. It's a bold choice, but sometimes I roll that way. So we have another little pyramid here. My light keeps flickering. I thought I was imagining that. So yeah, we have that dominant 7 is really prominent. So yeah, I decided to end on the dominant here. It's kind of an emotional. It's definitely, obviously, a sense of incompleteness. A story that has not been closed yet, has not been finished. The ending is unwritten. So however you want to interpret that, that's what I did. That's how we ended the song. There we go, guys. I'm going to come back here real quick, boop, because I need to copy and paste some lyrics in there, and I don't want you guys to see my embarrassing notes. There's nothing that embarrassing. I just have some usernames and passwords in there that I'd rather not display to the world. To the 13 of you that'll probably watch this video, just being honest. Okay, I think we're good now. I'm gonna come back. Boop. It always does that when I copy from the notes. It makes it gray, which I don't like. And we're gonna make it bigger. There we go. Okay, let's talk about some of these real quick. I don't know if any of these have changed. Like, I don't know if this is the older version before I actually record it. Sometimes I do change the lyrics on the fly if they're just not working. My gosh. Yeah, we're going to move that out here so you can actually hopefully see them all. Well, we'll work with it. So, when your supply is beginning to run dry, what I'm meaning by supply, which might be difficult to interpret maybe, is supply of like pain, actually. So this is a phenomenon with a lot of human beings, you know. We love having problems. If there's no problems in our own life, sometimes we invent problems to worry about. You know, you should talk to people who really have it all, you know, all the money they need, all the other stuff. They're still not always happy. In fact, sometimes they're even like more unhappy than people who have far less than them. And that's just because like the brain needs you know, the humans gotta have problems. It's the weirdest thing. But also, for somebody who's very empathetic, if your life is going great, sometimes that can actually start to make you feel bad. You can actually feel like, well, I don't deserve this. You know, there's so many people less fortunate than I am. So you almost start taking on people's pain that doesn't belong to you. We'll get back to that in the later lyrics, but it's like when your own supply of pain and like misfortune is running dry, there's plenty of other people out there that are struggling. You can always feel bad for them, and not in like a condescending way, but you begin to take on their pain, which can be a double-edged sword. You know, let's continue on. We can explore that a little bit more. They say to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. You know, you hear that all the time. You know, walk a mile in their shoes, you'll understand what they're going through. And then this line, I've walked several thousand miles, I don't think I needed to. It's kind of this like took it a step further, you know? It's like they said walk a mile, little did they know, like I've been walking thousands of miles in these people's shoes, taking on like all this pain and like misfortune in the world, almost feeling it personally myself. Whether it's like reading the news and hearing about this tragedy in some other country, some other place, someone's going through something, maybe a family member, a friend, just all this stuff. There's never a shortage of things to be sad about or to feel bad about, to be grieving or mourning. It's something you got to be really careful about, because it's good to care. It really is, and people need you to care, but you just got to be careful that it doesn't start to eat away at you to where you can't even do what you need to do, you can't even function, to where you are feeling responsible or in ways that you don't deserve to. You know, you are walking thousands of miles in other people's shoes when you don't need to in order to actually help them. You know, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at here. So, I know we all start this race in completely different places. It's kind of self-explanatory. Everybody has their own situation that they're born into. Can't really do anything about that. It's just how it is. Maybe that's why my victories feel so cheap. You know, this could be taken a number of ways. I don't even fully know exactly how I meant it. It could mean a lot of things. Sometimes you feel as though, like, everything's been handed to you, which I know is not true for myself. I've worked really hard to have the things that I have and to get where I'm at. But at the same time, it's like, I was also born into a situation where I was able to work hard to get those things, you know? Like, I am able-bodied. I have the resources that I need when I do, you know, have something going on that I need to have taken care of. I have a family that cares about me. I have, you know, I live in a place where there's ample opportunity to go out and work, to make the money that I need to make, to do what I need to do, scholarship opportunities, all of that stuff. It doesn't mean that I haven't worked very hard to get those things. But some people could work, you know, as hard as I do or more and still not have those opportunities. So, and that's something that I can't control. I can't, you know, but I can't help but feel as though, like, well, I didn't really, you know, even though I know there's no point in telling yourself you don't deserve this or you don't deserve that. But it's like, you know, you can't help but feel as though you you were handed something in your life. No matter how much more you could have, there's always going to be somebody who's got more. There's always going to be somebody that has less. So, I think you get where I'm going with that. They say to count your blessings, and I didn't have the nerve to tell them any more than zero is far more than I deserve. That's a pretty, guys, I don't actually believe that either. But, of course, it's sort of it gets you right there. You're like, any more than zero, like everybody's saying, count your blessings, be thankful for this and that and the other. And it's sort of this feeling that you might have out of spite where it's like, you know what, like, I'm counting my blessings, but I don't even deserve any of it, so what's the point? It's tricky, man. It's really tough to feel like you deserve it sometimes. Because, again, there's always people struggling. It's like you feel like they need it more than you do. So, it's tough. But I don't actually think thinking like that is very productive most of the time, to tell yourself you don't deserve what you have. I think just doing all that you can to lift other people up in whatever way that means to you is definitely a very good direction to go. And whatever you have to offer, whether it's time, it's money, or if you don't have any of that, just sitting down and talking to someone sometimes can really go a long way, or just a gesture of kindness. I don't know where I'm going with that, but just in your life, there's always something you can do to lift other people up that maybe have less than you do. But yeah, telling yourself you don't deserve what you were lucky enough to have, not the most productive line of thought, I will say that. But I did want to include that in the song because it's like that is the tendency, right? Now we get into the chorus. Oh, it's worth mentioning, I repeat this, they say, I think that might be in every verse. Yeah, they say. So, I did that because it's like, it's sort of this, again, it's this, here, present this idea, present what people say, present like the uplifting, what people are trying to tell you to do, and then present the actual thought that you have in your head, the counter. I think that was a pretty powerful thing to do. It's like, here's what here's what you're going to hear. This is what you're going to hear from other people, and this is what you actually believe. This is what is the tendency to feel, no matter what people say, whether it's true or not. So that's why I chose to do that. All the pain and sorrow, some I borrowed and some is my own. That is really the heart, I think, of empathy, of just empathy in general. People that are truly empathetic or empaths or whatever you want to say, you're going to have a lot of pain that is not even stemming from your own life, Like, you look at your own life, you're like, everything's going fine for me personally. Like, if I were to look at my own life right now, there's not really a ton to complain about. There's always little things, right? But most of the struggles that I have right now, the pain and other stuff, is all stemming from, like, other things, extraneous, like other people that I care about, maybe people that I don't even know personally that I'm hearing things about, just all this other stuff that is causing, a lot of struggles for me, even though it's not even stemming from like my own personal life. And of course, when your own personal life is pretty difficult, it only adds on to it. But at the same time, it's this thing where it's like, if you have a lot of problems in your own personal life, maybe you're so focused on that you don't really have the energy or the time to like be worrying about all of this other stuff. But when your own life is going great, on paper, that's when all these other extraneous things start to creep back in. Because again, your brain's got to have something to worry about. It's silly. But there you go. And I can't tell the difference, and it's turning my heart into stone. Yeah, self-explanatory. Smiling eyes, disguise. Yeah, so this is kind of like Mask. This is like a callback to Mask. It's like the shining eyes, the gleaming teeth. It's easy to put on a face. It's easy to put on a facade. And sometimes you're like, the look. Like when you yourself have gone through that a lot, and when you've put up a face, you can kind of tell when other people are doing the same thing. It's like, I know you're struggling deep inside. That's another huge part of empathy, is like being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, understanding that just because somebody looks on the surface like they're doing okay doesn't mean it's actually true. And that's something you get better at if you yourself have struggled through it. So, look through the smiling eyes, you see right through the disguise, and you're like, man, I hope somebody would see through mine and realize that I'm also struggling on the inside. Um, but yeah, so that's that. Lose it all, and then someone has the gall to say that you could always have it worse. That's another tricky thing. It's another tricky thing because it is always good to keep it in your mind, like that perspective of no matter how bad things get, it could always be worse. It can be useful to think that way, you know, because there's always going to be somebody that's got it worse. But at the same time, you should never use that to invalidate somebody's struggles. It's like that's why, like, when you're struggling with something and you like talk to somebody about it and they shoot you back with like, well, it could always be worse, it kind of doesn't feel great, you know? It's like, but I'm still having a hard time here, like, can you understand that? But it's like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and you're like, well, it could be worse. It's like, that doesn't really help. It is good to know that, but that's not what you want to say to somebody to comfort them, you know? um, I think there's a time and a place to think that. There's a time and a place to say that to somebody, and I know a lot of people that have felt invalidated when somebody would say that to them. So that's kind of a nod to that. It's like lose it all, or just you're really going through a rough time, and somebody has the gall to be like, well, it's not as bad as it could be, you know. You know, this person's struggling more than you. That person's got. It's like, yeah, but it's not a competition, right? Um, we can all be struggling with different degrees of things that maybe impact us more, like you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like it depends. Somebody might have gone through a ton early on in life, and then later on things don't hit them as hard, things don't phase them as much, which that of course comes with its own set of extra challenges, but they might not be knocked down as easily. Another person might have been lucky enough to where most of their life was pretty smooth up to a certain point. So then that first time that a little small challenge, relatively speaking, hits them, it really knocks them down. And the other person might look at them and say and scoff and be like, "Man, I've been through far worse than that. What are you doing? Like, get a hold of yourself." When it's like, well, this might be the first time they've ever struggled with something like this. So you've got to keep that in mind. Everybody's at a different spot. You know, somebody, it might be something as simple as like, I don't want to get too morbid here, too specific, but like maybe you've experienced loss or death very early in your life with somebody that you care about. And so you still care when it happens later in life, but it doesn't hit you as hard. You're able to move on from it quicker. Where somebody like me, I've actually been lucky enough up to this point where there's been very few deaths or like losses in my family besides like pets and stuff, which still does hit you hard. But you know, and the ones that did happen, um, I was either like too young to fully process it, or um, it was the type of thing where it wasn't somebody that I necessarily was super close with. But that's not to, you know, I'm not trying to get too specific about that. But I'm very fortunate to where at this point in my life there hasn't been a ton of like tragic loss, and so I think the first time where I do, God forbid, go through something like that, it's gonna really be it's gonna hit me hard, right? But um, so I don't know where I'm really going with that, but it's just good to like to never invalidate somebody for what they're struggling with, because we're all trying our best. I think that's really what you got to keep in mind, is that, you know, we're all really trying our best. There are some people out there that just like to dramatize things and whatever, but I don't like to I don't like to go into a situation with that mindset. It's like, well, they're just playing it up for sympathy or for, I don't know. I don't prefer to live that way. I'm a benefit of the doubt type of guy. And so I would just say give people the benefit of the doubt, and trust that they are truly struggling and they're trying their best, and be supportive, you know? That's what I'll say about that. The glass is half full. That's another cute little thing people like to say. It's like, well, think about the glass being half full and not half empty. It's a good sentiment, again, but a lot of the time it's not what you want to hear, and it's not very practical. So that's why I just shoot back with this like little zinger. I don't even have a glass; it's shattered on the floor. Again, it's dramatic, but it's a fun little like. Well, they tell me this, but I got them. You know, I gotcha. Um, and yeah, that's it. Those are the lyrics. So, this is a pretty bleak song. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and it's the second to last track, I think, and that was for a reason. I sort of, the journey that I wanted to take emotionally with this album was that we're done here, so let me go back here. Boop. You start off pretty ambiguous. with Mind. It's not, well, it's not really ambiguous. It is not a happy song, but it's less depressing. It's more of just a swashbuckling, like sort of a bar song, or like a, something like that. It's upbeat, so it doesn't like depress you or anything. Then as the album goes on, it gets more and more bleak almost. But then ending with this one, then the last song though is Peace, which is like it's an uplifting song, So it's like after all this turmoil, it's gonna be all right, and that's what I wanted to do with Peace. It's the last thing you hear, and it uplifts you. I think we'll go to that one next. I'm excited about that one. There's a lot of stuff to dig into with that one. But yeah, that's what that is, and so that's why this is the second to last song. Because I didn't want to end it on this. That wouldn't leave you feeling too good. But there you go. So that's that, and we will look at empathy. No, we'll look at Peace next, probably tomorrow or something like that. I hope you're looking forward to that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.